But why, some say, the moon? Why choose this as our goal? And they may well ask, why climb the highest mountain? Why, 35 years ago, fly the Atlantic? We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other thing. Not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills. Because that challenge is one that we're willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone, and one we intend to win. We choose to go to the moon.
Hello and welcome to World Blockchain Roundtable. This is episode 104, and we are going to be talking about fiat on and off ramps. But before we jump into that, let's go ahead and introduce our panel for today. To my right, I've got Litecoin Lisa. I've got Lisa joining us.
Good to see you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. We've got Greg from Rivet joining us today as always. And we've got Joe Rhodes, Joe Dragon joining us, the architect of Dragon Chain here with us today.
Hello.
Great. And I'm your host, John Branch. There's a website. If you want to learn more about me, that's all you get to know about me. I'm hiding the rest of my identity for the rest of the show. That's it. All right. From last week, to take care of a little business from last week, each host is going to receive 120 lot. Each contributor is receiving 75 lot. Last week's theme was monetization of data by Derox, and he'll receive 75 lot for that. And as a reminder, these ownership tokens come with perpetual passive income, free edits, and governance votes. Great. And it's exciting. My favorite time of the month. World Blockchain Roundtable DAO voting for June themes. Yes, Amanda, on it so quick. I love it. We've got the June themes in there today. So go in there and vote for your favorites. Is there anything in there that's like exciting for you guys? I feel like artificial intelligence is going to get it.
Everybody.
AI really.
AI.
What's that one going to be like? Is it going to be like AI as in talking about AI? Or is it going to be AI as in like what can you make with AI?
And that's the wonderful thing about this show. If you don't know, you're tuning in for the first time, you get to go in there and ask us questions. And so you get to really depict and explain what the show is about. So if you want it to be about AI movies like iRobot or the streaming of electric sheep or something like that, you can have it be about that.
Yep.
If you want us to talk about the future of AI and how it's slowly going to take all of our jobs, you can talk about that.
Or, variational autoencoders and the technical details of it. If you want to bore everybody to sleep, you're welcome to propose the topic.
If you want to talk about machine learning, we can do that too. If you want to just see me dress up as the Tin Man and do 35 minutes of the robot dance, probably won't happen, but you can ask. So there's a lot of different things that can happen.
New topic.
Yeah, there's really some fun ones in there. What else? Is there anything else exciting?
That Internet of Things.
Internet of Things. Yeah.
I don't know about the AI part on it, but securing Internet of Things with blockchain, I think would be an interesting conversation.
I think they just wanted a twofer.
They just want to throw AI into everything now.
Well, I like the specificity of it because it's about security and it's about the Internet of Things, but it's using blockchain and AI to secure it, which is actually a pretty interesting theory, but there are probably plenty of grounds for disagreement that those things are even necessary for good security.
And if you want to hear us talk about it, go in there and vote on den.social under the governance votes. Throw your weight around there and have us talk about what you want us to talk about. Great. Moving on to the next thing. The theme of the week for this week, as I said before, is fiat on and off ramps, which was nominated by Derox. And let's jump right into the questions. Our first question. Wow, somebody went in there and really. I checked like 10 minutes before, and I Am for AM did not have the most amount of votes. So there it is. Go in there and vote like with your energy to up. What questions do you want us to answer first? So this is the first one from I Am for I Am. Who is the bigger villain, Gollum or Gary Gensler? What do people think?
Gary.
Clearly Gary Gensler, because Gollum inadvertently destroys the ring and saves the world with his greed, but Gensler is destroying the world with his greed. Period.
There you go. There's also more to his question, so let's get into that. On-off ramps are a major choke point to help or stop crypto growth. If I was in control of a government and wanted to eventually ban crypto, making on ramps difficult, then banning them is how I would do it. What other bridges exist for people and small businesses to accept and use crypto? And if traditional ramps get banned, what should we do? Lisa, do you want to kick this one off for us?
Well, oh my gosh. I mean, okay, where do we even start with this? What other bridges exist? I mean, there's crypto ATMs. I have some good friends that just actually launched a project called Olive. They have CoinFlip ATM. They just launched their app Olive. So they're doing, there are some options with that and some flexibility in the ATM, crypto ATM space that hasn't gotten hammered down yet by the regulators. So that gives you some flexibility. There are some options with credit card payment or card systems. So like BitPay, and they just shut down one other card. You can also move to another country, apparently. I don't know. It's very difficult in the US right now. They're stifling innovation like we've never seen. I mean, basically, the US and China are the most stifled for innovation in the world right now. Sorry, I'm talking way too long. Sorry.
You're good, Joe. Yeah. What are like other options? I guess if it makes it more difficult for on and off ramps.
They're doing a good job of shutting them all down. That's for sure. I mean, we used to have local Bitcoin. We used to have other similar, more regional geospatial based ways to get into crypto. Did anybody ever use Bitstamp? I mean, it was really wild. You'd fill out a form and then send it Western Union, send money in, wow. And it would send Bitcoin to you. Really interesting thing. That was after Mt. Gox. Right now, if I was getting into crypto for the first time, I don't know where I would go. I mean, I guess you have Coinbase, right? You have places like that, but even them, they're trying to kill. So it's really weird. Maybe friends. That's maybe you go to a Bitcoin meetup or something. That might be the best reasonable way. For a business, if you aren't a really big business, it might be hard. I mean, there are still a couple of outfits that if you make large trades, they'll exchange it. So if you're rich, I mean, essentially, they're shutting it all down, not for any of the reasons that you might say. It's because they don't want you to get rich, right? They don't want normal people to be able to buy crypto and then, get rich, essentially.
The goal is to pull the ladder up.
Yeah. That's
so to me, I would say that the solution to this is going to be ad hoc. It's going to be decentralized, and it's going to require people to invest a bit more in learning. Like one tool that I would recommend learning how to use is just a basic hash encryption technique where you can share secret information with one another. So you need to get used to using public-private key cryptography for other things than just like pre-programmed stuff. If you learn how to use, just like basic PGP, you can share things like GPS coordinates for meetups. You can privately communicate through encrypted chats. You can use VPNs like NordVPN. That's my favorite personally because it's a really solid service that lets you sort of pick different places to route your stuff through. Start learning about this stuff now while the information is still available, because after the financing of it is no longer possible, they'll start shutting down the information sources too, where you can learn how to be safe and to still have your privacy. But yeah, it's gonna have to be hyper local. You're gonna have to. It's peer to peer for a reason. So you're gonna have to find people that have some, and you're gonna have to trade them for something they want.
So I am for him had an interesting part in his question as well, which was if I wanted to stop people from using cryptocurrency, I would make it difficult to have on and off ramps. I would make it difficult to exchange that for dollars or whatever else, right?
Mhm.
Are there other things we should be looking out for that are going to be stopping these on and off ramps or stopping cryptocurrency in that way as well? Sean, what do you think?
I think that now is the easiest time it's ever been to buy crypto. When it started, it was super difficult. It was just a handful of nerds around the world, and it was very, very difficult. That's why I bought it, like in I don't even like 2010. Never bought it again. It was the worst experience I ever had. I just thought, oh, that's not the future. That was a horrid, horrid experience. But I bought this T-shirt, and then it was 2 years later that I was, when that I got it, and then went down the rabbit hole. But I think now Joe had said he doesn't know where people would buy crypto. It's crypto.com. I don't know if you know of them, but they own the world. They just opened a Formula One in Miami. They're billions of dollars they're pumping into. They're very mainstream. Everyone knows that's where you can download the app, and just buy crypto straight into it and put it into your account from your bank account from wherever. Coinbase. They're the ones that are kind of. It's weird because Coinbase used to be the big dog, and now they're just the main one, like on the news fighting with the SEC. So I'm sure they're doing something shady behind the scenes with the gov. But the biggest one for like regular folks, I think, is crypto.com and Cash App. Also PayPal. PayPal is another one that, it's huge. But that's where I had the most from noobs and nobody, people that never did anything about crypto. They're talking about buying it in Coinbase, and you can buy that directly from in Cash App. You can buy that directly from your bank account, or which it used to be kind of, you could just buy it there, but now you can send and receive, and that's how I live. Which I have a story this week to talk about here. It's Lisa told me what the subject was, and I had this big gripe I was complaining about this week about this very subject, because I use crypto to live and pay bills, and it was a rough week, man, as far as fees go. Just Roger Vere's right. So many other people are right. It's not. You can't use it. An average person can't use it. I mean, if you're rich, fine. If I'm doing great, fine. But I'm not doing great. It was tight, and it was just I actually had to look at fees, and it was ridiculous. It was like over 15% to 20% to send money. Wow. And that's not real. That's not real life, and then I was stumped because there's only Bitcoin. That's the problem that I faced, is that those outlets that make it so easy to buy, it's not to buy crypto, it's to buy Bitcoin, and it's mainly for hodling, but it's easy to on ramp, off ramp for like PayPal or for Cash App in Bitcoin. But the thing is, and they charge a buttload to buy and sell, much more than a regular exchange.
Yeah, Cash App is really good for that. Actually, I've used Cash App to get around the trouble with trying to get your bank to send money to a centralized exchange, or to receive money from a centralized exchange. They don't really look twice if you add to your Cash App. And then on Cash App, it's run by a hardcore Bitcoiner.
But
I just wish Cash App would support.
They charge you like a full like 2 to 3%.
Like, how does Cash App not support like Zcash or Dash or something privacy token? Like, I feel like they should just do that, and that seems like
Why do you
something
think
obvious.
They
that Jack
should, and that would
do.
be nice, but they're
Yeah, why do you think?
yeah.
Well,
that's
Gemini
why.
does.
But
Do you
they
guys know
charge a
this?
buttload for buying and selling your Bitcoin. I mean, you know, like more than a bank would charge. It's like 3%. And I did a video on this years ago on where the best place was to cash out, and it varied, but usually it was always Cash App. And as these other ones went away, because like Coinbase, you can cash out of. There was only like three or four, but Cash App was the best one back in it was probably 2 years ago.
So
The
yeah,
other
if
thing you
Cash
can
App,
do-
if you're looking for a sponsorship, you can come to us. Where if you're looking to sponsor a talk show, come find us. I know you're in the chat. Come find us. Yeah. What's
The other
something
thing
that
you can do, just real fast, is set up a coin payments account for yourself and basically treat yourself like a fake business. Like, it's probably not completely on the level, but the coin payments integration can basically allow you to go as a payments portal and accept cryptocurrencies, and then they sort of automatically convert down to fiat in your home currency. So so if you set yourself up as a merchant and then pretend you're selling something to yourself, you can also kind of get away with some things. But keep in mind, that's probably in the gray area as far as legality. So check your local laws before you do such a thing.
is there another option for like businesses and things like that? I know since Dave's not here, I'll say what he might say is that he did something like this in Gainesville where we lived, where he went to businesses and was like, if you take Matter, I will buy it from you at the end of the night. Or at the beginning of the night, he was like, hey, I'll exchange Matter for dollars. You give me dollars and I'll give you a drink ticket. And you, or you can give me Matter and I'll give you a drink ticket, and then you can go buy a drink. And just kind of running as a small local exchange for crypto with businesses. Is that something that's kind of viable and that would work? And is that like kind of the only answer?
You could absolutely be your own market maker if you have a lot already. That's a service that somebody with a lot of tokens could absolutely go do.
You know what? Back in the day, Coinbase used to offer a this merchant service that was pretty amazing. We used it for a little bit, and I recommended it once on Reddit back in the day, and I just got lambasted for it. But it seemed to be amazing for startups, because they essentially would you accept a credit card, it immediately converts it to Bitcoin, and you could convert it back if you wanted. You could do whatever you wanted with it, but they didn't charge any merchant fees up to $1 million. And I think it was $1 million every quarter or something like that. And I was just like, why would you not do that? Let alone, hold whatever you want in Bitcoin. It just makes sense to me. But
now, guys, before we move on, I just remembered something. There exists an open source project already that could provide a decentralized approach to off-ramping and on-ramping.
Well, there's one that has the patents for it.
Foundry DAO. They're defunct now, but they have the code out there. They created this product called Die Hard, where basically you could, through some scheme where either party can burn an escrowed amount of crypto. They basically set it up so that the incentives were such that you could arrange on chain a direct trade for somebody you don't know and still trust it. And in most cases, unless you've got some joker who's out there to just screw with it too hardcore, most cases you're pretty safe. But the risk is you give both parties a chance to burn the crypto and destroy it, rather than because the key is once it's in the escrow, it burns into a dead wallet, black hole wallet, instead of going back to either party. So once it's in there, it's got to go. Otherwise, it gets burned.
Interesting.
Also, Monarch Wallet. That's another one you can actually set up push payments like your Netflix and Spotify and stuff like that to pay it in crypto every month without having to go in and do it every month. You just have to do the KYC. That's one thing. But if you're going to have an on ramp and off ramp, you usually have to have like pretty serious KYC.
And that brings us into our next question perfectly. Let's go and take a look at it. On blocked, yeah, that's where we are. On the blockchain, transactions are fast and cheap. Unfortunately, to enter the blockchain, you usually need to have a payment card, do KYC, and on top of that, pay a large fee. Are we slaves to the old system? Is what Derox has to say. Joe, you're shaking your head. It sounds like you got something to say about this old system.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're all slaves to it right now until we choose to not use it anymore, right? I mean, we all have the power to offer and or pay for services in different ways, and the fact that the security that that is used for credit card systems. You talk to someone who's been in that industry, and they'll go on and off and all these standards and all these how secure it is. And
immediately went for Papadopoulos and then also added Page and
it's like, that's crazy. It's a number, right? And it's like, oh, we need to make it more secure, so we'll add these 3 extra numbers. And it's just the stupidest damn thing in the world. When you have the tech that we have, there's a freaking chip on the card. Why the hell is it not using some asymmetric crypto to do the same thing? It's crazy. It's like, oh, I just write down this number and I'm going to go.
Joe, I think you're right. I think you're right, but I also think there's probably, it's not so much that we're slaves to the old system, because the old system is so immutably perfect with how it enforces its, I mean, that's what Operation Choke Point 2.0 is about, right? It's about ring fencing, what they call ring fencing crypto off from the financial system. Mm-hmm. But the reason it works is because people are wusses. So there's nobody who's out there who is willing to just go be a true cypherpunk and move from place to place to avoid when one of their like right now we've got a system that's good enough to play whack-a-mole with them forever.
Well,
right?
It's because everybody just lives with the cattle mentality. It's like,
nobody's got the courage to just like take the tech and actually
do anything else. I had people back in the day when I told them, hey, old friends, you really should just buy some Bitcoin. They weren't poor, they weren't super rich, but it's like, just buy some Bitcoin, right? And literally so many of them, some of them laughed it off early days, but then even after it had a few leaps where it was a noticeable thing, they didn't want to get in trouble. They're just like, no, I'm afraid that I'll go to jail or something.
They're afraid to go on a list.
You crazy? Yeah, being on a list or something else. And I'm like, it's just surprising to me, right?
Well, I think you're getting ready to see.
In.
Yeah, you're getting ready to see the pain hit. I just saw breaking news. Biden administration is pushing for a freeze of U.S. bank withdrawals amid the decline of money supply. And when the pain gets hard enough, when we see them getting away with breaking laws and no accountability, and we the people being held to a different standard, we the people are tired of it. And we're going to say enough, and we're going to find the on and off ramps, and we're going to take our energy somewhere else. And I think that's what you're going to start seeing. And we're going to look for those peer-to-peer options. And only one person has the patents for that. And that's Reggie Middleton with Veritasium. So that's where we're going to end up ultimately.
Well, assuming the courts will enforce anything at all that has to do with it in a proper manner, right?
Well, yeah. Graham had to defend his patent 600 times. We're just getting started,
Well, I just wonder where like this whole system goes if the banks are collapsing. Like, how do they even pay for courts anymore?
Well,
that's
what I'm thinking. Like, when
that's what I mean.
The courts are a bank.
When the system falls apart, how are we going to use that system? Anytime in history, when anything happens, it's not slowly. So whenever I hear people saying, "Oh, this is coming and it's coming," it's like that age-old adage, whenever cab drivers and shoe shine boys are telling you to get into it, it's time to get out. I think it's always going to be quick. It's going to be just a kind of boom, 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 and then it's like within a week, everything's going to fall apart. And then, like you said, how are we going to pay for these things? How is this going to happen? And everyone is going to usually look to whoever's going to take care of things, going to, keep the garbage trucks running, that kind of thing. But never before have we had crypto. Never before have we had something else to look to, which empowers people.
Well, it's kind of like the opposite, isn't it, Sean? Like if your cab drivers and garbage pickup people are telling you to get into crypto, then it's probably almost too late for you to get into it. So you better hurry.
Yeah.
Well, the distraction is that this is not a bank failure. This is a market crisis. Some of the banks may exist just fine. Visa is a payment method, is like a software. Visa may stay working just fine, and we may send crypto using Visa. We may use some of these tools. Some of these tools may exist. Derivatives may blow up and go away. Some of these
bond markets that are toast,
banks,
really.
Yes, the fiat may go away. The USD may go away, but the market may crash. But some of the banks may exist. Some of the tools may stay.
Right. I think that's one of the biggest reasons why they've went after these regional banks, because it's hard to control that. And that system is somewhat decentralized to where we can make it. With regional banks turning to crypto, we have a decent infrastructure to kind of save it and keep things going.
John, you know why they went after him, right? I do.
Try to save JP.
I know exactly why. Because they hold too many U.S. treasuries, and if they all start having runs, the FDIC can't afford to cover all of that.
Yeah.
Right. And Goldman Sachs and all the big banks, the mega banks, can't afford to buy all of the regional banks all at once. And that's the trick. They can buy them off piecemeal as they fail one at a time. But if they all go like that, cascading effect, then they can't buy them fast enough, and the FDIC won't be able to pay for even the basic deposit insurance they already promised, let alone the extra they're promising.
I say we all just go back to trading salt. I think that's what we all need to go to. And then it's also just like give in to our AI overlords sooner rather than later. I feel like it'll just make the transition a lot easier. Great. Let's go into the next question that we have here. All right. I've noticed, and I'm not sure you guys have seen what happens when payout is enabled. There's usually a big hype until it's enabled, then a 90% crash. So my question is, what are certain ways for a project to retain the confidence of the marketplace after this occurs? Most individuals don't place the funds they acquire back into the ecosystem and or in the crypto market. Some projects are play to earn, and the tokens are mined within the game, which is good. I believe that that token just has to be an exchange and not go to fiat from the platform. I think it could help avoid legal trouble, and maybe the project have to get a money transmitter license. I think I read that right. So let's take a look at this question.
No, I follow what they're saying. The pathways to market are to find a confident marketplace are so varied that this question is sort of like one of those. It was Hayek that said that it was sort of the unhappy role of the economist to remind people how little they can actually plan because they know so little about how things will go down. Like in the late 90s, for example, like people were talking about the internet like it was going to be cable TV only better, right? We're going to have TV stations that are interactive and people can directly interact with their favorite TV programs. And that was what they talked about it like the internet. Right, you can see Aaron Schwartz talking about this in 2011, 2012, like close to the time of his death. But they thought it was going to be something, and then it ended up being something else. And that's exactly what's going to happen with everything in the future, because you just can't predict how the market is going to develop. The trick is to follow what people are doing, and don't come with any presumptions about what's good and bad. Just because if people are trading value for value, then and you don't understand the value on the other side, then you're probably missing something.
And I'll say, I mean, I think it's like say the description, if I understand it, is similar to what was the game with the like all the cartoon stuff? Crypto game took off like crazy, then crashed.
Axie Infinity.
Yes, thank you. That model that pattern has happened over and over again, various degrees, and essentially it's because you have the ability for someone to earn something by doing whatever the thing is. If it's a game, it's even easier, right? We had the same thing with Den, and that certain people, who have to pay their bills, have to pay for food in particular, in certain areas of the world, will come in, earn that, and then exit, right? Because that token isn't ubiquitous. They can't pay for their lunch with that token, right? So it's not like cash. So they have to convert to their cash. It's the very similar thing, and they also have this knowledge that everybody else in their situation is doing the same, so they have to do it as fast as they can. So they aren't even going to hold part of it with the hopes that. And so they shoot themselves in the foot because, but they have to, right? Because if everybody held it, it wouldn't crash. But the problem is you need more utility, everything else. But I do think that the part of the solution is limiting the off ramp. And then focusing the on and off ramp for these, especially utility token systems, through behavior oracles, or essentially where the on and off ramp gives you a market advantage if you have the behavior that the network cares about. So, I say, if you go to Uniswap, it doesn't know anything about the utility. It doesn't know anything about the value of that token. It's literal, just a curve. It's numbers.
Right. It's pulling its data from oracles.
Right. But if you have a behavior system tied to that liquidity pool, all of a sudden you are going to drive the behaviors, including exiting. That you're going to limit your exit because you can get a much better advantage. I can get $5 a token instead of 5 cents a token, because I'm only exiting what I need every week, right?
Right. Well, and Uniswap does not, against its credit, make it very easy to do orders that seek a specific price point, right? It's all about spot.
Right.
You go on there, you spot trade. You don't get to do sell my tokens at this price when I want to sell them,
right?
Or sell my tokens long or short, or whatever.
They got these tokens for a little bit of work. They put in a little bit of effort, and they get what they need for for
now
a week. So
Joe, I agree with you to a limited extent on the limiting the off ramp, because as long as the on ramps are limited, you have to. But if you didn't have limited on ramps, then probably you wouldn't need a limit on the off ramps, because it's going to cycle back in just as fast, because people are going to keep coming back to the place where they get paid. They'll put their cash back in essentially once they get paid again.
Well, the hope is that the people that don't have the same economic situation would put the cash in with the knowledge they can do the things.
Or that people will pull themselves out after enough cycles.
Right. And that's the thing it would be incentivizing, is people to start thinking a little more long term. But if you just look at it purely at numbers, it is that you would be tying the behaviors that the network cares about, that the system cares about, with that token to the trading of that token, instead of it going out to an artificial blind system where people are trading on a curve.
Well, I think there's probably need for both, right? I think you gotta have both.
It would be arbitrage. That'd be the beauty, is that you'd be able to say, oh, I can see what it is over here. If behavior is not accounted for, it's 5 cents. I can see that the price over here, if behavior is accounted for, is as much as $5.
Right, but it's harder to get out. You've got, it's sort of like the difference between a deposit account that's checking and a deposit account that's a term CD, right?
Yep. And you have to do these things, right? It could be time, but it could also be
time or actions, right?
Yeah, I have to do these things. So anyway.
Yeah, and then the only other thing that I would add there, Joe, to what you said, because I think it was a really sharp thing to say, is that the other key is the behavior only works if it's community governed, because if you don't have community governance, then you run the risk of having what we have today, where a small number of elites are the ones who control the behavior system, and they use it to nefarious ends, like social credit scores in China, or what they did to the Canadian protesters around the end of the lockdown period.
Yeah.
So that's what I was going to ask too, is what are the behaviors that you want to have, and the behaviors that you want to discourage as well in this area? And then also the question is, as you said, Greg, is who's the person that gets to depict what these behaviors are? Lisa and Sean, do you have any ideas for how we can make our citizens? You're the mom of the group, right? You got to help us behave.
Controlling markets, and that's just not cool or good. I think the word in that question was the hype. That's what you're missing. Is that people just shouldn't be giving into the hype. I think the big problem is with how it's working is that we're such a tiny community with our little $1 trillion market of everything. It's just not. It doesn't take
hype is good though, isn't it?
Yeah,
that's how Bitcoin got started.
But it takes a little bit of people.
Because right now, really, to make it
to destroy a project. This is what he's talking about.
Yeah.
That, hey, I got my decent sized community that I built up on hype. And this is something that it's something that we all struggle with. People that really are in crypto, and this is, well, not you guys, but people that are like in it and they know that dollar go up is important, and dollar go up is the hype. That's what we're talking about here. That's the reason for this.
In some cases.
And I've been like in Divi, it was a perfect example. I had nodes that were worth tons of money, and someone sold like I think it was like $3 million of the Divi, and the community blew up. Who the hell's selling this? Oh my God, the price is crashing. Blah blah. And this, I don't know why. Mr. Honest said, "Oh, it was me. I sold it. I was in the beginning. I've 150x my money, so I sold a third of it,
right.
or like a quarter of it." And everyone's like, "Get out of here! We hate you. You're not part of this." And
why didn't they thank him and say, "Thanks for the discount. Let's buy it back up"?
Bro,
all
of you in here are mad because you're losing money on what you bought to make money, and this guy is an investor. He was around before a lot of other people were, and he's like, "Hey, I'm going to take a risk on this," and he put in it was like 20, 30 grand or something. It wasn't a little bit of money. This is why he did it. You're yelling at him for being why would you not tell someone to take profits? And he didn't dump it all. I've been in projects where it's nefarious. You can see it. People are like, pump the coin and then dump it on their community. This wasn't like it. This dude got in way in the beginning. He held and then he took profits, and that made the price go down because it's a small community. It's a small group. I think as it gets huge, that it's not going to be as big of a deal. And there's the mentality of the people in projects and putting money into crypto are very short term. I'm in the long term, like 6 months. That's those people, the people who are real like investors. They're not here yet, or they're dipping their toe in.
10 years is a good investment.
And those people are buying Bitcoin. Those people are hemming and hawing about Ethereum, and XRP.
If you bought any crypto token that existed 10 years ago, and it's like almost any of them, with a few exceptions. If you bought ETH or bought Bitcoin 10 years ago, you're looking at 35,000% gains.
Yeah, right? It's huge. Well,
I think, John, to your question, like what limits we should put on it or whatever, I don't think we should put any limits on it. That's part of the problem, is that we need free markets, but we need the volume in the market. So that's like Sean's saying, we're such a little pond right now. We don't have all the things we need in a true free market, being able to like barter. Imagine like we're all a little community. We're a perfect ecosystem community. And I can go to the market and I can swap my eggs for your tomatoes, and everything I need is there. And so we can peer to peer exactly what we need. Well, right now there's no eggs at the market. And so people are swapping out and leaving the market and going back to the dirty fiat market. And that's the problem that we have right now. And so as people leave the dirty fiat system and realize the corruption and the slavery that we're in and how manipulated it is, and they come to the free market, then that will release a lot of it. So I don't think we should put those behaviors on it, but
like if Jeff Bezos just stuck his God hand down from the board of directors and commanded the current Amazon CEO to change Amazon to accept all forms of cryptocurrency that currently have a market value.
I think they do. I think
you can't, but not on just a regular, like you can't just
there
on
used to
any
be ways to buy stuff on Amazon for a discount. Crypto got shut down.
Oh, I didn't know it got shut down.
Yeah,
okay.
If they still offered that, if they had that, I think people would probably keep their money in crypto and just use it.
So it was so easy. There was things. That's the thing. We were building that stuff 5 years ago, and everything worked really, really easy. And then it got stopped. You could use Bitcoin Cash on Amazon and get a 10% discount on anything you bought. Didn't matter, and that lasted about a year. And then it got shut down.
You guys remember DAI version 1.0 that didn't have all of its ties to USDC that made it dangerous? Like it only had one piece of collateral, and it was like ETH, I think. That token still exists, like DAI Classic basically is still out there, and it still roughly carries about the same value that you would expect a dollar to have carried minus inflation, if you being honest about inflation. It's interesting to me, the idea that we could price things in crypto. That might be like if we didn't even refer to the dollar at all, if we just used it as the measure of what, like how many Satoshis or how many Gwei does a thing cost? Right.
I think it's going to be in grams of gold. Yeah. It'll probably be in grams of gold. There's over 23 or 25 states now have passed laws to use gold and silver as legal tender. And there's, I don't even know how many countries now are doing digital backed gold currencies. So it's most likely going to be valued in grams of gold.
Well, I mean, like right now on Rivet, you can go buy 100,000 requests of RPC capacity with Rivet for one DAI, and it's not referencing dollars. It's referencing dollars by sort of, right? The price is in DAI. Obviously, if you're paying with a card, we still have a dollar price, but if you're paying in crypto, then it's actually priced in crypto. We make it we fix the ETH price that we charge to the DAI, but I feel like that's the line we have to cross. Like if you could go on Amazon and know that like you're going to spend about 0.002 Bitcoin for a TV or whatever, I feel like that's where we get to the place where we don't really need off ramps and on ramps at all anymore.
So we were talking about something before too that I wanted to ask about, where the idea is that this is going to be a free market and it's peer-to-peer and that you don't have any of these external influences, that it's a free market. And something I always struggle with is like, that just doesn't exist. There's always going to be somebody that's putting their thumb on a scale somewhere. Even when it goes to another medium, you gotta believe,
man. You got to believe in it. Otherwise,
we tried that, and then we had to start paying for protection, and that could be that.
That's the thing, though. If you walk into a store and they have their thumb on, everybody realizes that, and they stop going there, right? Or they shoot the guy, right? In Old West, right? These days, the problem is that the thumb on the scale is by a $1 trillion institution that's backed with guns by our own government, right?
And nobody knows how it works in the first place.
That's the problem. And if you can exit that, that's the real key. And at some point, that hasn't existed always, and it shouldn't exist now.
Concept.
I think at some point soon, that's why I'm open for the collapse, because with the collapse, hopefully we will end that, and then it might be the guy in the local supermarket with their thumb on the scale, and that's when you can address it, right?
Right. Government hasn't always managed money, and it doesn't have to be that way.
Right. In fact, every other time they've tried up to this experiment so far, it actually did collapse.
Right.
So,
all right. Well, we've got one more question. For you guys were giving me hope there. That was nice.
It's my job.
Sometimes I leave the show and I'm like, the future's gonna suck. And then sometimes I leave the show like today, and it's like, all right, maybe there's hope.
I have a meme for you. Just remind me to share it.
All right, sounds good. All right, well, let's go to our last question here. This one's by Derox. Is it possible to switch to fiat straight from the digital wallet without giving all your data? How do we do that? And I feel like you came to the right place. I feel like we might have some answers for you. Joe, you're shaking your head. You got an answer for us?
Peer-to-peer, of course, right? I mean, that's the local Bitcoins used to be that way. But if you have a friend that has some Bitcoin and they're willing to trade it, or vice versa, right? That's how you can do it. So
yeah, there's also a way you can use a messaging service that runs directly off blockchain on ETH. Like if you go to Etherscan, you can go to a feature. In fact, I'll tell you what it's called. And let's see, where is it? Resources, tokens.
Well, Greg's looking that up. You should use a Nimic. They were, but see, that's the thing. They were getting on the Swift system, so it was everything in Europe and the rest of the world. But it had to be $1,000 or less, and then they didn't have to go through all the stuff because the system didn't care about $1,000 or less. But I think all of that's just temporary because it's all set up to be $1,000 less. Fine, but the more people start using it, and we've seen this, time and time again, whenever the numbers become high enough that are looking at it, that's when they're going to attack it. So I think we've got to fix that, because until that, people can build stuff and it'll just keep getting shut down until it all collapses. And then it's good that we have it, I guess, in the background ready to go. But I think we need to, and I hate saying the word regulation clarity, but people need to know what they can build, how far they can go, and what is expected. And then I think we'll see this just quickly be taken care of.
Right. Well, it'll run away from the authorities once the people getting elected into power realize what they could do if they weren't following the dumb rules. So let's have some dumb rules so we can at least get past that part. Right. Is sort of what you're saying.
Yes. Make rules for typewriters. And
let's go ahead and have the dumb rules that suck, so that we can at least get past the part where people are allowed to build on it. And then when people realize how dumb the rules are, they'll start demanding the changes.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Sort of that idea. Okay, but I did want to touch back on that. I found it. It's chat.blockscan.com. If you go there, you can do wallet-to-wallet messages. Just search yourself up a whale on Etherscan, send them a message on chat.blockscan.com, offer to send them a Cash App for whatever your local currency is. You can probably get some ETH. Betcha. That's my piece of advice there.
That sounds cool. Also, you can Western Union money apparently.
You can send them Western Union.
I am still so confused about that, because I'm like, what do you get back? Do you get back a coin? Do you just does it go to your wallet? I'm so fascinated by the fact.
Well, the trick is you have to trust them to send it to you once you send them cash.
Yeah.
So
I just think it's hilarious that we're using stamps to buy digital currency. Stamps.com. If you want to, if you're looking for a sponsorship, stamps.com, you can hit us up. Hopefully we can help you out there. Really, really put those stamps to good use.
Well, that great. Confusion, man, that confusion has led to with crypto, people getting fleeced by there was people all over the world selling Bitcoin on a Craigslist. The little big, like I used to give them out, little Bitcoin you buy on Amazon or wherever, and then they meet at Walmart parking lot, like, yeah, here old man, I got this Bitcoin, it's, selling for $6,000, sell to you for $3,000. He's like, I've heard of it. I know it's $6,000. Over here, $3,000, man, for a little coin. It's like, there's the Bitcoin.
It sounds like when you used to buy magic rocks back in the old West, and that will give you healing properties or whatever, or snake oil. I love it. Great.
Yeah, so we can still buy snake oil. Just check Amazon. It's totally there.
I'm sure somebody uses it for something. Maybe it's good for preserving leather.
Well, good for treating leather, I would imagine.
Exactly.
Well, speaking of the Old West and stamps, really quick, John, Indonesia is using their postal service to buy, or just that's what they're using with their gold and their digital gold, is they're using their postal service to create their digital gold. And we have patents that were released in the US through our postal service to do some similar things with voting and currency. So we could, our postal service used to be our bank in the US. So we could do something like that again. We could go to the US and go to the bank or go to the post office and buy Bitcoin. And that would be a trusted thing.
I am. There are gift cards for swaps for crypto. But Lisa mentioned that certain states have approved gold as a
gold and silver
form of legal tender. And there are some states, like 3 I know of, that have gold-backed money. Like Utah, I think Nevada, but they're like a plastic dollar, and they have an amount of gold in them, like $5, $20 worth of gold. That's part of the bill itself. I think I have. I'm not looking for it, but I have one. I can look it up and then put the link in chat. But yeah, there are some states that are now actually that use it as a form of money.
Yep, absolutely. And I mean, if you've got like, the good fortune to be in Wisconsin, right? Like, or Wyoming rather. Sorry, you can actually go to the bank that the FDIC or the FDIC, the Fed refused to grant a charter to, right? You can actually go to
Truist?
to Custodia.
Oh,
because they have a state license. They just don't have an account with the Federal Reserve. So if you go there, you're not going to get FDIC insurance, but you can still go there because the Wyoming banking authorities have licensed it. So, and you probably also, if you're there, be able to relatively easily buy crypto for fiat, would be my guess.
Interesting.
Great. Well, this has been the Fiat on and off ramp segment of World Blockchain Roundtable. Filling us with a little bit of hope today if everything crashes. I'm leaving here in a good mood. I'm gonna end the show a little bit early so we can all have a little bit more time in our exits to kind of talk about what we want. If you want to have a couple minutes to talk about a topic, maybe something that we might talk about in current events segment coming up right after this. So stay tuned for current events. But yeah, this has been Fiat on and off ramps for this week. Great. Next week's theme is going to be reinventing insurance for the mobile generation. I'm excited about that one because I used to work in insurance. So that'll be great. And there's some really, really cool stuff out there, in my opinion. Yeah, go ahead and into the question and leave a question for us on the topic. Great. Lisa, anything you'd like to plug or say on the way out of here?
Yeah, check out my channel on YouTube and visit my Mighty Lair on Den Social. And make sure to watch Sean and I every Tuesday, and join us on Happy Hour every Friday.
Great. Joe, anything you want to plug or say? Take a minute or two if you want. We've got a little bit of time. So
yeah, I don't know if I have anything too much. Recovering from the flu, so I'm just kind of, still a little cloudy. But DinDAO call later today, and tune into that. Probably have some ideas on there to go over interesting stuff related to DIN. There's a lot going on, current events, of course, right? With some of the Ripple cases, there's some really interesting stuff. Those Hinman emails are going to come out, which will be interesting, I hope. Gosh, there's a lot of other bad things going on in the world, but the banking collapse is hopeful. So yes.
Great. We can talk about all the bad things going on in the world and the current events if you want to go check it out. just make sure we put me back in a bad mood before we end the show. I love it. Sean, anything you'd like to plug or say on our way out?
Yeah, you check out my channel. Check me out on social medias, all that. Me and Lisa are starting something. I don't know if she just
I may back out. I've been rethinking this.
I don't know. She's just talking shit. But we are going to stop complaining and bitching about the government, and we're going to do something about it and become county precinct committeemen at the minimum, if not run for a higher office, and start trying to make a difference on a local level behind the scenes in the larger scope. I don't know if you know, but the people that every year every time there's a vote for president, everyone acts shocked that the electoral college is the thing for some reason. Whether it's like, oh, these votes here and these people got this and there shouldn't be an electoral. So, but the people that pick who are the electoral college are these local yahoos on a very low level. And the people that pick so much and have so much influence on the national stage are very, very local political figures. And those are very, very open. You can go to Operation Sunlight and check this out. It's all laid out there, as well as steps in order to get more involved on a local level. It's not a ton of work. It's like a meeting every month, every other month, a couple hours, like 3 or 4 hours during the primaries. It is not committee persons, Dave. It may be Lisa and I. Okay, but it's committeemen still. So. But yeah, we're starting this, and we're going to do this.
But I don't know if I'm going to do it, because I don't know if I want to opt in or out of the corrupt government system. I don't know if I'm going to.
Well, you're not fixing anything, just yapping. So you're going to do it.
Yeah, but I don't know that I want to comply with tyrannical government.
For me, I either pick up a gun or I do this. That's it.
I don't know.
I mean, we're done. I don't think anything's going to get fixed.
I think it's a good conversation to have on Tuesday.
I think we fixed it. We had the conversation. You said you're going to do it.
I did not commit yet. I'm
pretty sure I'll go watch both shows, but you guys go watch.
I need to look at it.
Rake over the coals in the comments.
We'll have a conversation about it.
We'll duke it out. I'll arm wrestle about it. I know you're in. We're doing it.
Arm wrestle you. I'm not decided.
I will arm wrestle you. Fine. You just said that. So now we're done. We're doing that. We're going to become committeemen over the next few months, and we're going to do this and document it. Tell other people how to do
it. Wow! How did you pull that together that fast?
Yeah. I made that last week. I love it, Sean. You always like tell us how to do the right thing at some point during the show, and I love that. Like your 2 minutes, 3 minutes at the end of the show was, we're gonna do the right thing. We're gonna get involved. We're gonna find a way to make things better within the rules, the system that we have for a second.
Even
and then if not, we're all just gonna bombard Lisa until she does this as well. So if you want Lisa to run for a council member or a city thing or an electoral college voter, get your thumbs up in the chat. That's what people say, right? I love it. Greg, anything you wanna leave us with?
I think that I just want to add this one last thing. It's sort of something that I always say, but since I've got a little bit more time than usual, not much obviously, but I will. I'll just say, look, there are solutions out there to some of these problems we talked about today, but for most of them, like, nobody's running local Bitcoins anymore. All the code is out there to do it. any one of you listening today, if you have the capacity to balance your own checkbook and run your own life, you have the capacity to learn how to run a business. And that's a really good one. And if you want to use that and you need support for it, for that from back-end infrastructure and any help, reach out to me because we can help you guys get that set up. So somebody build that. I want to see somebody bring back local Bitcoins and local cryptos. I want that back up. That's my admonition to anyone who hears this: is start it back up, man. The world needs it.
There you go. Look, we're leaving with hope. I love it. Here's ways. Here's the tools. Find the tools. Go out and build the thing that you need to. What's the line you always say, Greg? What's your
if I have a lot of those. If you look out in the world, you don't see it already. It doesn't exist yet, and you should do it. And if you do it, Rivet can help. That's typically what I will say. Is that what you're looking for?
Sure. I love it.
Okay,
that's great. You're just gonna get a video like Sean at some point. So I gotta write down what the tagline is. Great. I'll plug a little thing for myself. My name's John Branch. You can find out more info about me at johnbranch.info. And I just want to remind everybody out there, no matter what you're doing, who you are, where you are, anything like that, don't forget to drink water and stay hydrated. I feel like people forget about that. You lose water watching this show because it's intense. You're a lot of brain power is working. You're learning a lot, and you got to refill those water depletions that happen there. So go ahead and take a sip of water. Not sparkling water, regular water. Don't use tap water if you're in Flint. If you're somewhere else, you can use normal water. You use tap water. But yeah, go ahead and do that. And that has been this episode of World Blockchain Roundtable. Thank you so much, host, for being here with me. Join the World Blockchain Roundtable layer and Den to ask questions for next week. Like I said, we're going to be talking about reinventing insurance for the mobile generation. Leave a question and we'll talk, but you get to decide what we talk about. If you want to talk about mobile gaming apps and ask those questions, you can. It might not get upvoted and might not make the show, but you can still ask those questions. Don't forget to share this episode. The more you share, the more our hosts and topic contributors will get, and you'll get as well. Like, comment, and subscribe. And thank you so much for joining us. Stay here. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back with a breakdown of the show and then current events. Bye.
No mechanism exists to make payments over a communications channel without a trusted party. What is needed is an electronic payment system based on cryptographic proof instead of trust, allowing any two willing parties to transact directly with each other without the need for a trusted third party.
I like that outro video. That was like perfectly on topic. That was different than normal, right? Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I like it.
Peer-to-peer cash.
Yep. Fun show.
I actually spent a ton of time reading like old cypherpunk texts before this one, just to sort of get my head back into the right space of like, where we should be going versus where we are. And that was really interesting to do. I don't know if you guys have ever dived into sort of the spiritual history of this movement. I'm sure Joe probably has, and Sean probably, maybe you have to some extent. Lisa, you guys read much?
When I want to be sad, I do. Because I see what it's like now, and I'm like, well, we could have had all these things. We could have had freedom, but yeah.
Nope. Yeah, it is. Same for me.
Or freaking pretty much that's it. So
I find amazing is how many of them have been sort of like taken out by various things. Like,
yeah.
Like Aaron Schwartz, he got killed himself, and Jacob Applebaum got Me Too faked out.
Got killed himself.
Yeah. It's like so many people just like got disappeared. It's pretty crazy.
There's distant. Hey, what'd you think of the Fiat on ramps, off ramps episode?
I caught the last half. I thought it was good. I jumped in right about the time Joe was laying out the behavior-based marketplace. thing, which was pretty interesting. I saw IM had some disagreement in chat. That's always good to have different perspectives. Good show.
I tried to pretend I was you and throw in some anecdotes and some things that you would say, and then I saw you in the chat. I'm like, okay, I don't need to do that anymore.
Yep.
Yeah, I was gonna like tell the story of you buying Bitcoin and coffee culture, but then Sean was like, told his story. I'm like, we don't need two of the same story.
Have you guys seen?
I didn't tell my story.
Well, you told the idea of doing peer-to-peer stuff is all it was.
Yeah, no, my
Have
story.
you guys seen the hubbub around the ledger thing? I'm really interested in that.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, I did see that. Yeah,
I read through it.
It's
I don't
super
like it.
super sketchy.
Yeah, it is. Like, I mean, they could do it as safely as they want to do it, but to me, the fact that the firmware is going to be updated to allow any sort of exporting of your seed phrase at all, regardless of how safe
They said that was impossible.
Right. Well,
right? Like that was the original marketing.
That's all it takes.
Like they said there was no way to do a firmware update to do that, is what they said.
I guess they lied, because
Yeah.
there's a firmware update now that can export and back up your seed phrase to their computer.
So, Dave, can you do me a favor and can you make out with your microphone when you talk? Because you're really quiet. Get real close to your microphone.
Is this any better or
not even?
No, you're super quiet.
I was like, you probably can't read the chat, so we need to tell you.
You should probably turn off volume control.
That might be my limit. I might not be able to.
If you go into settings, you should be able to shut off
very,
the
very quiet,
automatic volume adjustment.
The end part of my story about I had to pay my electric bill, $500, which was way too high. But my electric company sucks. So anyway, I'm trying to just scrape together some money. So I was like, I got I can take 150 off of this exchange, 150 off that, and then I didn't really check, and then the fees were like, to send $150, they were charging me like $25, and I had to send it all to one exchange, like KuCoin or something, to turn to Bitcoin, because that's the off ramp. And I sold everything, turned it to Bitcoin, and it was enough to pay the electric bill. So then I was going to send the Bitcoin to Cash App, and it was $40. And I was like, $40? That's like a normal person's water bill. That's a huge amount of money for nothing, for a transfer. That's one of the reasons why this was started, peer-to-peer, blah, blah, blah. But there's nothing you can off-ramp except for Bitcoin to Cash App or anywhere. Except, and then I thought, Crypto.com. I could send some money to Crypto.com, put it on my card, and then pay the electric bill with that card. Okay. But there's only certain...
They don't accept a card, do they?
No, they do. Everyone accepts a card, but there's only certain things you can top up your card with.
Right, so you have to trade.
Now I'm going to have to send XRP or something else to Crypto.com and then pay the fees to convert it to
USDC or USDT or.
And then I thought, wait a minute, they let you take Litecoin. So I've also ERC20s was like $25, $27 of transfer. Everything was super high on Sunday. It was. Thought, you know what? Let me try Litecoin, because Litecoin, I can send it straight to the Crypto.com, and you can top up with it. I don't have to exchange it. A penny. It cost me 1 penny to send Litecoin. And that's why it's there. That was to use crypto to pay my bills.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I used, and it was a penny.
That's interesting.
It failed me this weekend.
People think of
like number of times.
Cryptocurrency.
Am I okay audio now?
It's a little better.
It's better.
Okay.
Try holding your mic up to your mouth.
It's in my headset, dude.
That's I thought it was the little.
That's not volume control.
Oh,
nope.
Okay.
It's a Bose headset thing with, I don't know. I'll yell in the airport. Everybody, I'm on a show.
It's better. It's better. It's better.
I was just gonna say I can't count the number of times that I have been bailed out by Bitcoin because my bank or my mother-in-law's bank or whoever I was traveling with, even though we told them we were traveling to a different country, they cut off the bank card the last time, like last year, I was in Iceland. This happened. We would have been stranded with no money and no way to be to buy food or lodging or anything or get back home. But I used Cash App with Bitcoin, and I had the cash card, and I just used Bitcoin through the cash card. Now, I don't like the limits they put on it. There's definitely very strict. You can only spend or do like $2,500 per, I don't know, week, I guess.
Yeah.
But that's a pretty high limit compared to others.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the
They
banks
do
have
raise
screwed
that.
me,
They
and
do raise that
Bitcoin
after a while.
Bitcoin bailed me out. I was able
mine's
to buy gas
like
for
10K, I
the
think.
car.
I still can't even pay. Like, I think people take like Zelle and stuff for like rent and things like that. And like, I have a Zelle limit of like $1,200. I'm like, I can't pay. Yeah, I know you accept Zelle as like rent, but I can't pay that.
How does that type of stuff? I mean, that comes out of nowhere, and adoption happens there. And
God.
they'll accept it for rent, and they'll accept it for stuff like that. But why the
It's
hell
super sketch,
has
actually.
crypto not exactly? I mean, it's I mean, all the PayPal, all that stuff is so risky if you're actually dealing with money. Compared to crypto, it's just so
Especially
it's like
because
CBDC Lite, basically. It tracks all of your information so egregiously that they allow you to do stuff instantly.
And they can do clawbacks up to 6 months later.
Right,
Mhm.
right.
And
if you're a
the
business, they'll
clawbacks
lock
can
it.
drive you negative if they want to.
Mhm.
Right?
Yeah,
Like, you don't have to have a balance for them to
Yeah.
drain you.
And literally, speaking of it being CDBC Lite, it is. I mean, literally, that was the first, I guess, publicly for normies known, where it's like, wait a minute, if I do this thing politically, you're going to freeze my account. That what
what's
PayPal
crazy
said
too,
and what all those other guys said, and it's a good intro, I guess, for people to what's coming. But
what's crazy too is they used to allow you to use your bank accounts on those services to initialize transactions. Like it would basically do an ACH pull or an ACH debit. They don't allow consumers to do ACH debits at all unless it's via your payroll check or the payroll system or via an online store. Like you can't do direct peer-to-peer between individuals any longer using your bank account as a way to send it by telling them that they can pull it immediately, right? You have to do an ACH send, which subjects you and the party you're sending it to a 3-day hold, right? Like you can't have instant money anymore if you want to do it any other way, which is really screwed up. And the really screwed up part about it is the reason that they implemented it, or the way they implemented it, was through the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. So they're protecting us from, freedom, which is pretty in line with Elizabeth Warren. So
I used to not hate her.
yeah, I used to not hate her
Dude,
too.
me too. Me too, dude. She disappointed me.
She declared war on
I
us.
used to not
So,
think that she was.
I can't claim the
she
same.
just
I
overtly
don't
was
know
like.
that I've ever not hated her, I guess, or so whatever.
I not hated her for a while, but the last 2-3 years, she's been pretty bad.
She seemed pretty good during the financial crisis, the first one around. Like she seemed like she was on our side at least, right?
And then in the early,
she was coming at the bankers.
2018 and before, I guess compared to everyone else, she seemed better.
As it turns out, she was just trying to get a cut.
I think I mostly liked her.
Dave, what were you saying?
I was going to say I think I mostly liked her through proxy, because some of my friends and neighbors were flying signs and promoting her, and I liked them, and I thought they were smart people, which they are smart people. But I don't know. I was just like, well, I'll trust my neighbors. They seem like good people, and if they like her, I guess she can't be too bad. My mistake. I was wrong.
Well, on her social stuff, she was always pretty middle road. You know what I mean? She was always like, I'm a mother, blah, blah, blah. She just seemed like a regular person when it came to that kind of stuff. And
politicians, man.
She's a mother and an Indian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's that. She wanted to cheat the intersectionality Olympics, man. She wanted to be more marginalized than she was.
There's a pyramid on that now. If you've seen the, I'm not going to go into it.
Yeah, it's probably still.
Pretty funny. It's pretty funny though.
Speaking of pyramids, that Netflix Cleopatra thing is pretty hilarious, I think.
It's
I heard it
hilarious.
has terrible ratings and no one's watching it. It got like terrible.
Well, everyone's
ratings.
mad. I mean, well, not everyone. Egyptians are mad, but it's the thing. What screwed him over, and I thought it was a little bit like over the top that everyone's so pissed, until I learned that Netflix is selling it as a documentary, and I was like, oh, well, yeah, okay. If you're like, this is historic factualness, okay, that I thought it was just a movie, you know, like Cleopatra and Anthony, you know, but it's sold as a documentary, and a historical documentary. And I was like, oh yeah, that was a very bad move, Netflix. That's terrible. Yeah.
Get
And
ready for
the Egyptian people are so based; they are not politically correct at all. They are.
Well, the
like
History
this-
Channel, the History Channel throws ancient aliens and stuff up. So, and that's history. So, you know, if they can do it, Netflix can bill it as a documentary.
Yeah, but that is just like historical stuff, and then opinions on it. This is that's the thing. All the Egyptians are like, "Hey, we're not black people," and the women of that era, the biggest thing they worried about was beauty. And then they have the woman who played her was like looked like a Ubangi. Her hair was like crazy, and we're like no, like women would shave their heads just to wear wigs so their hair looked good. If they couldn't make their hair, like that was the and then the whole thing about Cleopatra was
She was a Greek.
well, that's the controversy. But I thought that she was around during the pyramids time.
No.
And the pyramids were
Way
like
later.
2,500.
What did they say? I think Cleopatra was further from the creation of the pyramids than we are to her in time, right?
Unless the pyramids are way older than you think, and the Egyptians just found them there.
You know,
They are.
it's really weird when you start thinking those time scales, isn't it? Right, like the BCE era stuff, like all that stuff, whether you like the E or not, whatever. You know what I mean? Like everything we reason about from now to back 2,000 years, and then everything before that, the majority of human history happened. And there's just these huge time spans where so many years pass that we haven't even comprehended that in the modern era, especially with the way that we've compressed so much, years of time happen in months now.
Well, that's
with as far as how much
I was
stuff
so
changes.
cool about growing up in Europe, and it's like we have no history here in the United States. We have it was like 200 years, and I remember was it Neuschwanstein or Oberammergau, or I was on some castle tour, and there's all cool stuff, and this one it was a glass box, and it's like this king came over here and brought this bread as a gift, and it was just a loaf of bread with like salt next to it to keep it preserved. And like this, this bread is 480 years old, blah 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 blah. And then everyone walked out, and I was looking at the bread, and I'm like, this bread is twice as old as my country. This bread has double the history of the United States. It's a freaking loaf of bread.
Preservatives, am I right?
Just a thing of salt. Everyone asked that. I remember. Just a big like a bowl of salt was next to it, and they're like, "That's all it is." They put a bowl of salt next to it; it absorbs everything, and it's saying we got to keep it dry. But that just blew my mind that it was just a loaf of bread, and it was twice as old as America. Everything America's went through, the war, all of it. This bread was around before it was
preserved like Dianne Feinstein.
And
It's like
to think about time and history, it's so huge compared to like where we are and who we are as a people. It's like mind blowing.
Well, Sean, it's like you were talking about on Tuesday, you and Lisa with Truth Tuesday, you were talking about the experiment that is the USA. And it very much is an experiment, and it's still a new one. It's still pretty fresh. So we don't know how it's going to.
Fresh. It's not as old as the bread.
There's not. There's no guarantees. There's no guarantees. So
and people
thinking there is a false sense of security.
People nowadays, they don't think about it, especially anyone under 60, I think, or under 60 or so. because America has been around for a while, and so much of the world has changed to the way America was, but America has changed so much to the way like Europe is and stuff. There's like not really much of a difference, but a lot of the world has been Americanized in the way of thinking. But it was so radical that like everyone's the same, everyone's vote is the same, and everything that we just think is normal was crazy 300 years ago. Crazy. And it's been an experiment, and it's worked. It's actually changed the rest of the world. It ended slavery. We fought with ourselves. There's so many things that so many ways the world has changed because of this.
I think it changed slavery. I don't think it worked. I think the jury's out, actually, because I think what we originally had has been
bring it down, bro.
destroyed.
Okay, yeah, you're right. Okay,
right. I mean,
but as far as owning people and regular folks,
so?
regular folks outwardly owning people, be able to beat them until that's gone.
We don't have.
It's unacceptable.
You can go to the sale barn for some cattle, but you can't go to the sale barn for some people.
You can go to a sale barn in certain parts of the
No, you have to run for office to do that now.
And you can still do that. You can still buy people, but it's very
born in the right blood. Right.
I guess we do have charity auctions where we do like you can win a date with someone. That's technically.
Well, I mean, it's a much more it's much crazier type of slavery, because the slaves don't know that they're slaves.
Financialization is what it is,
and they don't care. They're just, well, what's I'm gonna get Netflix, and I'm gonna go and do the thing, and
Isn't that kind of indentured servitude where you just kind of sign up for it? I mean,
slavery is.
I think it's a higher level than that.
We're all slaves if we use the U.S. dollar, because the fact that we save our energy or our time in U.S. dollars, and then while we sleep they print more. That's like we walk into a prison every night because the next morning they took the time that we were going to use later in life, and they have just enslaved us. They stole our time. Yes,
they consume the value we create,
our future.
By stealth means, yes.
And it's worse when you look at it. We've generally not had to deal with this for a lot of the periods in at least in everybody here our life, but when it comes to war as well, because you're going to essentially have to spend some blood to go.
Though I personally prefer prefer a different metaphor, though. I don't like the slave master metaphor for the way we live right now. I think a better metaphor is parasite host. We have a really, really voracious swarm of mosquitoes or ticks or whatever you want to think on our backs, and they're very, very good at symbiosis. They hide very, very effectively, right? They've got so many people even convinced that that we need them. That we can't remove the tick, we can't we can't get mosquito netting, because if we did that, then all of a sudden we wouldn't have the benefit of their usage of our blood, right? I think that's a better metaphor. I think they're more parasitic.
Well, the 14th Amendment misled all of us. I mean, a lot of people think it was to free the slaves, and it actually made all of us slaves by changing the term citizen. And so, I do go back to the slavery thing just because the Constitution was, Because
there are definitely characteristics of slavery that are gone for good, right? Some things that don't happen. Nobody tells you, well, at least nobody up until relatively recent times ever tried to tell you where you can and can't move to, or where you can and can't go, or what you can and can't wear on your face, right? Like those types of things are relatively
you can choose which corrupt party you can vote for,
right? As far as all that stuff goes, you're right.
It's all pretend,
but it is different appreciably from what we know of as slavery, chattel slavery.
I think like Lisa said, it's pretend. We're given
you're pretending.
We're children. We're like, hey, you want this or that? It's not a real choice. You
want the apple or the orange? Yeah, either way, you're eating fruit.
Yeah, we're totally controlled, but we think we have a choice. Right. And on what John said, he said that everybody needs to hit the like button if they want Lisa to take part in this and to run for these things. And I just looked, and we have 4 times the amount of likes as last week already.
Awesome.
Great. All right, so Lisa,
I will
that means we
consider
got
your opinion.
Yeah, Lisa, we've got to sell your actions to get likes. Okay.
Yeah.
Every week, we're gonna try to get you to do something based off of likes.
Awesome.
But I'm gonna be honest. It's usually gonna come. We're not gonna have enough likes. So you're never gonna actually have to do anything.
Good. Perfect.
Unless it's something next week, it'd be like make dinner or something like that, or eat today. Great, we've got enough likes. Oh, we didn't get enough likes. Guess Lisa's starving.
That works.
That is. Do we really get more likes? I meant put a thumbs up in the chat comments.
Got 4 times the amount of likes as last week already.
Whoa,
that's hilarious.
That's funny.
That's awesome.
That's how the show works, though, right? The upvotes. That's how we do it on Den Social.
YouTube pushes it out more, and we get more likes.
As a host, I try to change one thing about the show every week, and sometimes it's big, and sometimes it's subtle, just to see. That way, you can see actually what the change actually does. Because if you try to change like 4 things once, you're not going to know actually what the mechanism that caused the change.
Right.
So now I know this one. If I yell at people to like the episode and hit the subscribe button, or else something bad happens, or something good will happen if you do it.
Or if you just, like are cheeky enough about how you ask, like if you sing it, like, like the show.
Great. I don't have to do
it now. Right.
Oh, damn it. Can you do that again? I won't interrupt you.
I can do it in any melody you would like. I used to be a singer.
Well, that way I can.
I still am. I just used to try to do it professionally.
Now I can steal the sound clip and then add it to.
Yeah, it'd be the dragon crooners. Boo, 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 boo.
Yep. I can also do like a more of like the show, like a lower thing. We could
get this done professionally, and we can play it, right, John?
Oh yeah. I'm a professional. Okay, I use Canva. All right, I've got a pro account. All right, this is good stuff.
Brilliant.
Oh man, I'm glad I got to find a way to put the morality minute in there for Sean too.
That was epic.
I hate making videos and then not using them, so I'm glad I got to shoehorn that one in there. That was good. All right,
brilliant.
What else? What else going on in the world? Because there are a couple other things.
So much, honestly. Like there's the
they're impeaching
the FBI's
what's his name?
Yeah. Ray. And the fact, the reason that happened is was like the Durham report?
Yeah, the Durham report came out.
Yeah. And that basically exposed the fact that the whole Russiagate thing was basically bullshit.
And that they knew it.
And that they knew it the whole time.
I think it also exposes that nothing's going to happen about it. So
of course not.
It's I saw the funny fact. I should have linked it in, but it's it's CNN number one, and he's like, this does say that the FBI should have never started the investigation. DOJ should never start an investigation. And in some ways, it does kind of exonerate Trump. It's like exact words.
Kind of.
It's kind of in some ways exonerate
Trump. About
that they shouldn't have started. That there is no collusion. So, and then it
these people spent like 5 years telling everybody that it was just like right around the corner.
Jim Carrey, liar. He's like yelling at the guy. He's like, "You made all this up." It's some mechanic. He's like, "You made all this up, and you lied and blah blah." He's like, "Yeah, what are you gonna do?" And he goes, "Absolutely nothing." And it's got Republicans written across him.
Yeah,
absolutely nothing.
Yeah, that's the thing too. Though. I mean, people always want to know why Trump is consistently proven right in time, because all it is speaking against doublethink. It's like you take the obvious thing that you are not allowed to say, right? In polite society, and you say that, and I can't believe he said it, right. But then later, and yet everybody knows that thing is the truth. And it's not everything he says, right? But that is his typical MO. And it's funny because in his case, it gets amplified because it's him and because everybody wants to rail against him saying the thing that is not polite to say. And that's what happened with this. And it's what happened with the wiretap and all the rest of those things as well. So it's interesting history, right? So
the other thing that it's bringing out is where they stopped, they dropped the investigation, the IRS investigation into Hunter. They dropped the investigations into the Clintons. They dropped, all these DOJ, whether it was the DOJ, the IRS, all of these investigations were called off. And the American people are struggling right now with the way the economy is. People are struggling to pay these incredibly high taxes. We're sending money to Ukraine, but we can't. I heard something the other day that Medicaid and Medicare were bankrupt and broke in 2015, and Social Security will be completely broke and bankrupt by 2030 or less.
2032.
32. Okay. And, the American people are like, well, wait a minute. None of these people are held accountable. They have misled us. Now we know that, and they've had the dogs called off of them, but we're all expected to play ball in this corrupt society. And that's why I think people are just going to say enough,
the interesting thing is what's going to happen in 2032, Lisa, to me, is when Social Security goes bankrupt, when the trust fund actually goes to zero. What's going to happen? 80% benefits will still be available. 80% benefits will still be available because our payroll taxes have always basically been going directly into the pockets of the people that are beneficiaries.
I think people will say enough is enough.
It's going to let people realize it's a pure redistribution scheme.
Say it. They're not going to do anything. Like Dave said,
I think it breaks apart this summer.
When I was saying on Tuesday, nothing will happen unless you're below a certain level in society. I don't know if you've noticed it, but there's
when 25 states have gone to legal tender of gold and silver. Arkansas, if you pay with gold and silver, you don't pay taxes.
How many people are using gold and silver to buy stuff? Are you?
I will. If I can go buy a house
right now?
In Arkansas with gold and silver.
Are you doing
but I think what she's saying is that's coming though. That's what's coming because
it is coming. Because
if I have to go make a big purchase, I'm going to do it in silver, and I'm not going to pay taxes.
About the future,
if I buy something on Craigslist or I buy something from an individual, I'll straight up say, "Hey, do you take silver? Can I pay you in silver? Can I?" And if most people are like, "Oh yeah, absolutely,"
right.
When it comes to people, that peer to peer, it's already here, and I try and do it. But
I try to do that with crypto.
What I said on Tuesday, what Dave was talking about, is that nothing happens to people unless they're below a certain level. I've seen like 3 stories this week alone where people are arrested and in trouble because of sensitive or secret documents. One guy, he just took notes. He's in class, and they told him, "Hey, you can't take notes on this for the class because this is sensitive stuff." Weird. So he got in trouble for it, and then he's arrested, and these people are going to go to jail. But once you're at a certain level, it's talked about. It's like, well, it's not off the table. It becomes a story. It's not a crime. It's a story. That's on the news. It's only thing that should be on the news is an arrest.
That's where we need Nuremberg trials again.
And those were I'm mad about the Nuremberg trials. Russia followed through. When they put the wall up, they took care of everything. They fired all Nazis from any job. All the Allied powers, we stopped the trials. We moved them down to lower courts. We let everyone keep their job. And what happened 2 years later? A Nazi won the chancellorship of Germany. It took German kids growing up and hitting, adult age, and then them throwing a big brouhaha to make things change in Germany. We did crap.
Wow.
We did a show.
What about the I remember Dave telling us about what happened it was Iceland, right? When the banking collapse happened in 2008 and they held their bankers accountable. Do you think something like that could happen here this time? When the markets crash this time, will Americans hold them accountable?
Official justice, like Justice Department, no. But by the people,
by the people.
I think it's. I think at some point they'll share addresses, and you'll see similar to what happened Mussolini, right?
They'll punish themselves. Honestly, their fund money is going to go out of style, and they're not accumulating crypto.
Yeah, that's not what we're talking about, though.
If you look at history,
we're not talking about being poured on the street.
I think due punishment would be an inversion of the social order.
If you look at history and what happened in in the 20s, we had this great crash, and people were mad. People held the banks accountable. People, it was the best it had ever been. And then people were stupid, and they came back in, and they gave them back the power. And every time there's been a huge crash and everything's fallen apart, the response from the people has been less and less. 2008, Occupy Wall Street, things are starting to move. Boom, it ends. So whether it snaps back and, like Dave said, or Joe said, we go, medieval on it. But historically, every time there's been a crash, the people have been more and more of a pussy.
That's with media manipulation, and I think how many people do you know now that don't believe the official story of 9/11, let alone Kennedy, let alone anything else that's happened of major importance in the last 50, 60 years?
It's more and more, but then, like I said, historically, it's always been, this is the pattern.
There's probably more than people say. Honestly, I think there's a lot of cognitive dissonance out there. There's a lot of fear. Like, people actually see it. They actually know it. They just also are afraid to speak out. And they're also afraid of what happens if everybody acknowledges the uncomfortable truths, right? And it's taking a while for people to build the courage. And I think the internet is helping. And this sort of censorship push was an effort to stuff the genie back in the bottle, right? We were already seeing, like, with crowdfunding, like when the SEC decided that your Kickstarter campaign needed to be vetted or whatever. Because God forbid we have pooling of resources. That's what terrifies them the most, I think, is the idea that the little guy will pool the resources.
Any kind of
if they do, then that's the end of their game.
It's something that we should talk about. Douglas Mackey, right? He's been sentenced to go to prison for a meme.
Who?
Right? Douglas Mackey. So he put out
screwed up.
He put out a meme that was
a joke where, like, dial or send a text message to hashtag or to hashtag 3577 to vote Hillary and say vote Hillary or whatever.
Yeah, and he had the I think related to the
obvious joke.
Draft Our Daughters meme and then the text to vote memes. It was hilarious, and
it was an obvious piece of satire.
And they didn't like it. And literally, how is that not a First Amendment? I mean, how is that not a First Amendment?
Oh, it totally is. What's ridiculous to me is that anybody would defend the idea that anyone who would fall for that should totally be voted. Like, no, if you fell for that, man, I'm glad that you are not going to the actual.
That's just a thing, though, to mark right now. I mean, that's if you're talking about current events, that's the world we're living in right now. That you can go to jail for posting something funny if it's attacking.
They didn't prove at all at court, at trial, that anybody fell for it. They couldn't show it.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
It doesn't matter. He was attacking Hillary. Hillary is the protected class of the protected class. So you can't.
Didn't they have some people who did the same meme but for Trump?
Oh, yeah.
Did they? I mean, I haven't looked. I actually haven't followed this guy's case all too much.
Yeah. So anyway, I probably ought to be going. We're probably close up on time. I don't know if we've covered everything we want to cover, but
we got like 20 left, right?
Yeah.
We can keep talking about stuff.
Yeah.
Anybody got thoughts on the NBA playoffs?
China wins.
Who's gonna win?
China.
So, funny thing, I was reading Yao Ming, an old NBA basketball player, people don't know who that is, was genetically engineered by China to play basketball. They took like they took the tallest guy and the tallest girl in the country, and Yao Ming was the idea. And then he consistently got hurt over and over. And now I think he plays in China doing
They
something.
need to take his genetics and mix it with somebody who never gets injured.
Which I think after like a certain height, you're just kind of like a skyscraper that's too skinny. Like you're just gonna keep falling over.
I mean, there are the people who like, okay, so there's a genetic mutation you can get where like you don't feel pain. And it's considered to be like kind of a double-edged sword, right? Because you can do cool stuff. Like you can do beds of nails and like really crazy things that actually would be kind of painful, but you can just get away with them. But the other side of that is like, if you touch the stove, you'll burn your hand off because like you won't realize it.
Injure yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
So-
pain protects that's
Right.
how your body protects
So
itself.
hypothetically, right, you could have a guy like that who couldn't feel pain, who was also slightly tougher tendon-wise and ligament-wise. If you mix those three genetic traits, you could probably have like a super tall person who didn't get injured a lot.
I don't think feeling pain causes less injuries.
Yeah.
Well, it actually it does.
more
Bizarrely
injuries.
enough, it does though, because inflammation is caused or it is signaled in part by pain. Right? Pain causes you to recoil, causes your muscles to tense. Your injuries are exacerbated by it. Now you pull a muscle in your neck suddenly, and you twist the other way, right?
Yeah.
Or you go
weird
ouch
that
and
John
start
called-
hopping up and down your foot. You fall over and you bang your head. Yeah, of course it does.
John called Yao Ming an old basketball player.
Well, he's not around in the NBA anymore. Is what I mean by that. He's not old like I used to play with Larry Bird and Greg Stills and Alex J. I made up the last two. Amanda, if you're still here, just for kicks and giggles, you want to play the video I just uploaded? Or if Joe, if you can, I don't know if you can see.
I
think
love it.
That's what I remember the quote being, was like something go create something with the tools you have or something like that.
Yeah. Actually, I probably said build something great with the tools you have, but
okay,
but
great.
create works for me.
Yeah, he
Create
says
works for me.
build.
This is so interesting though, because there's a kid sitting on a moon, and
I like it.
and he's very intense over there in the clouds. That's very good.
Greg needs a new picture on the internet. That one is just too intense.
Yeah,
man.
Greg, you and Sean are the only two people I need headshots for. Joe, I was able to steal enough from the internet for you. Lisa, thank you so much.
You're
for
welcome.
Yeah, I don't know. I've got the new one, right? Like there's the new here.
There's a new one. If you could email it to me also, so you don't have to do whatever. But
Right, no,
the only one I could steal is either the black and white photo of you or some weird. It's another black and white photo of you with like weird colors around you.
Oh, we talk. Here's another.
I'm relatively. I'm kind of a ghost when it comes to that.
I want to see what you
can
guys
send it to me
think about.
privately.
Sorry, subject change. Patriot Front, because it is so obviously. I'm watching these things on video. It's so cringy and it's so obviously fake. You know, it's like feds doing whatever. What the hell are they planning to do that they have this thing out there put in front of everyone? It was funny because on 4chan, the first time.
All the Fed
did
picnics, you mean?
Yeah, they ID'd all of them by eyebrows and ears and hairlines and things like that. And so now they've covered their ears with their masks and stuff like this. Is so hilarious, right?
And there was a video that they purposefully leaked. Like it's such a scripted conversation. He's like, "No, dude, you can't. I'm going to take your phone. You cannot film me. No, you identified me. No, give me the phone back." Like it was so scripted.
Yeah.
I think they're just trying to relate it all back to the first month of the year, 6-day thing. Because that's all about to come out.
Yeah,
and
well,
they're trying to tie people into, hey,
they're
trying to just tie back
said,
a lot of those were those people.
I think it's Area 51. Area 51 pisses me off so bad because growing up, when everybody was talking about it, in the late 70s, 80s, and you're a nut. There is no Area 51. There's no conspiracy. No. And then it became like a joke. And then it was like, yeah, it's real. And when it was real, I'm like, oh my God, the government has lied to us all these years and ruined people's lives, and people have died. And like important people that wanted to, scientists that said it was there. They ruined, their lives and their credibility, and they could have helped humanity. And nothing happened. People were like, we knew it. It's like, haha, we knew it. You didn't pull one over on us 100%. We knew it, and nothing happened. And I think because of the beginning of the year thing, that one guy they're talking, it's so obvious that he is, a Fed, and with the fervor that the mainstream media goes through to say he's not, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's obviously theater, but I think that they're doing it, like Lisa said, so badly that it's meant to be like Area 51, where like in 6 months or 7 months, it's like, oh, that's a practice. Yeah, we knew it. Yeah, we do seed these groups with our, agents, so to keep you safe and blah, blah, blah. And that I'm sure it's gonna come out, and it'll.
Well, it's funny because you could see who all of them were when they tried to get New York to be January 6th, Part 2. Right?
Yeah.
Because like the only people that showed up were the feds.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing.
So all you had to do was watch CNN to see who they were.
Because right now you're looking at that and you're saying that, and false flag. But if it's kind of accepted and that's just the way it is, it's like not as bad, I guess. Like before, it was there are illegal things. Why would the government need to lie about Area 51? Because there's alien technology. Because there's illegal things that
because there is a there
would be mad at for us, because they have to lie about it. So I think that the reason why they're doing this now is because everyone said, hey, you guys created these, and they false flag of it. No, the false flag's not real. These, they're just there to protect, and we see with our agents for everyone's protection and for infiltration, as far as arresting evildoers. It's all good. And then it's about, is that real that they're there, and not about did they start stuff? Were they part of stuff? There was one thing I read that it was like some crime that these two people were going after. Like there was 12 people involved in the plotting, like a kidnapping or something, and only 3 people out of 12 were not, either informants or agents.
Yeah. Well, that's like the other side of it too. When Americans realize, and not enough people know it, when Americans realize that the FBI for several years, and I don't know which years more than others. Well, I'm just saying, the point I'm making is that the FBI has been in control and hosted 40 to 60% of all the child porn on the dark net.
Oh yeah,
our FBI.
Since
like, so they can catch these guys. I'm like, are you serious? It's like, I don't think these guys would be there if you weren't doing it.
Plus, you're not going after all of them. You're keeping it alive. It's a funding thing.
Yeah.
Right. The thing that to me that's crazy about the FBI is it's always been kind of a political arm, right? Oh yeah, Elon Musk's CEO. That's a great topic. I personally think that she's a great troll on people. Making her the CEO while retaining board of directors and being the CTO means he supervises all changes to the tech. He can fire her, and she's one of their people. So she's now his heat shield. If Twitter does something people don't like, she's the one who has to explain the policy, but he's still her boss, and he gets to oversee all the pull requests. Like, to me, that's funny as fuck.
You don't think
he hired a WEF person to sit there and get punched when he does stuff.
It's not him kowtowing to
no, it's him picking one of their own.
It's not me. It's not me, man. I free speech, all right, buddy.
He said openly in the announcement he's retained the board of directors position, chairman of the board, and he's also going to be the CTO. So he's going to check all the pull requests to make sure they're not censoring, right? And he's going to tell her what she has to do, and if she doesn't, she gets fired. She's officially the mainstream media's new punching bag, though, when they want to talk shit on the CEO of Twitter.
He did an interview with somebody, I can't remember who it was, and the guy tried to walk him into a really crappy response, or saying that he was basically kowtowing and whatever. And he was really quiet and really, really thought through his response. And he said something about if somebody killed your father or something and you question him, he said something like, it doesn't matter. There's nothing you could make me say or do. It's not about the money.
Right.
And that's where he is. And I was like, changed my mind. I'm a fan. Because I've always been on the fence about Elon. Like, I couldn't tell if he was a good guy or a bad guy, because I'm not about the Neuralink, but I like the free speech. But I didn't know if he was tricking us, if he was giving us an apple or an orange, and making us we're still eating fruit kind of thing. You know what I mean? Because there's not as much freedom on Twitter as you think there is, And so, and I don't know if he's really just AI or, was grown at the farm, or if he's a real person or not anyway. But then when he was saying like, yeah, alien, well, I don't know where he came from, but I loved his, he was very thoughtful. And then in that guy's face, and he was like, I will not be silenced for money. I will say, I don't care if it costs me millions of dollars, I will speak. Yeah, it's cool.
It's the CNBC interview.
It was awesome.
Yeah, and you can still find the full version on YouTube or on Rumble or on.
Very unique too, because he took such a long.
Any videos? We're all videos.
Yeah, answering that. It was like, yeah,
very thoughtful.
Cool.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. And then the other thing too about on the Twitter front, you guys see the latest Twitter files is out?
No.
No.
They caught Taylor Lorenz as having a special relationship with Twitter.
Really?
Yeah, where basically they would do special favors for Taylor Lorenz.
Imagine that. See, and that, by the way,
her uncle owns Internet Archive, so she could get history scrubbed from there.
Jesus. And by the way, I mean, that's you talk about Twitter files. That's the one question I have. If he is legitimate and he believes in open source, which he seems he does, and he believes in liberty and he believes in free speech, why in God's name is that not being crowdsourced? Why didn't he just, go through, if anything, process it for any legal PII, anything like that, and then put the shit out there so we can see for ourselves? Why is it, why is it?
I wouldn't put it past him to eventually do it, right? Like, it could take a while to remove all the PII, honestly.
Yeah, but that's not what they're doing. He's handing it off to
journalists,
special journalists to go through it, which I'm sure it's great, but that's a big freaking question. Is for someone who claims to believe what he does, that he wouldn't do that, right? Because what is he waiting for the election? Is he waiting for after the election? What the hell is he doing, right?
Well, I mean, wonder what I guess if you had to war game it, what reasons would be good? What could be a good reason not to give it out?
I mean, if you look at what Assange did and where he is, I would think, let me not do it the way he did.
Yeah, but Assange wasn't a billionaire. Assange didn't.
I was thinking that
Assange couldn't build freaking missiles and go to some third world country and start his own place, right?
Yeah,
Musk could do that.
He may be literally waiting until he has a Mars rocket that can launch the colony before he dumps all.
Which, by the way, is there any chance
so that he can leave?
My hope is, I think he has probably his most value he could create in the world is if he launched a single rocket just to place a goddamn flag on Mars and create a place for us to domicile crypto and or other legitimate businesses. And if he does that, it's like I get a square foot of land on Mars and I can do what I need to do for.
Why does it have to be on a planet?
Because every place on Earth can be hit by.
Can it be a satellite?
It could be a satellite, yeah.
It could be a satellite. You could put it in like a
satellite would be harder for other nations to.
If you parked it at Lagrange 1, then it'd be really hard for them to get it. But you really need the satellite to be self-assembling, self-replicating before you could really make it safe.
Yeah, I think just Mars it'd be very likely that a lot of nations would recognize it.
I think you need nano assembled servers, honestly. Like you need self-replicating servers.
Yeah,
If
I don't
you-
know.
if you're gonna build a
I
truly
think
free
you need a
internet.
freaking piece of paper. I don't think you need any of that. I think you need a piece of paper and a claim. So
I don't know, man. The gun people, as long as they can find you, will point them.
Well, I will say that I do own a 1 foot by 1 foot section in the Sea of Tranquility. So if anybody wants to get in on that, I also
Vacation.
own a star in the nebulous galaxy that's billions and billions of light years away. So it might take some time to get there, but that's up for grabs as well. And with that, I gotta go. I think we also have like 4 minutes left, by the way, until StreamYard yells at us. So just something
Fair
to keep
enough.
in mind.
all right, thanks guys.
But
Yeah.
Take care.
Say bye.
Oh,
That was awesome.
Join us
Bye.
in Peoria, June 23rd. I forgot to pitch it earlier. We're having a big meetup in Peoria.
The
Oh,
time I give
you like the
everybody
show?
3 minutes to say whatever they want.
I know,
and Lisa's
I'm
like, I got
sorry.
nothing. Joe's like,
I forgot.
All right.